Okay, welcome to AriasWave. My name is Michael Arias, the creator of AriasWave. Now, excuse me, I do have a cold still. It's been going on for like a week and a half, and I don't believe it's COVID. I think my kids gave it to me. But anyway, so in this video, I want to talk about AriasWave and what it is. How do I come to my conclusions and what methods do I use? Now, first and foremost, you have to understand that AriasWave took about 8 years to develop. From 2015 onwards, 8 years later, that includes discovering the waves and back testing the hell out of it, right? Lost a lot of money, didn't care. My purpose was not money. My purpose was finding the true pattern, right? Which is why I started my official AriasWave Trading View channel in 2020. Okay, but mind you, this started off way before that. In fact, my interest in the market started in 2009 after I lost a job, which was a higher paying job. And for some reason, they told me, you know what, due to the GFC, we cannot, we have to end your contract, right? And so from that point on, I was like, oh, I was like befuzzled. I was like, what the hell's going on? I started taking all these little jobs, and I mean, I work in IT, so those little jobs were ridiculous. And I thought, you know what, there's got to be a better way, right? So as long as it took, a decade of my life figuring stuff out, eventually I got to a point where I could figure out what's going on in the markets, how it works, what caused the GFC, and what causes boom and bust cycles. Along the way, I've come across a lot of really interesting people. Some of them like Harry Dent, Gregory Mannarino, Martin Armstrong, Milton Friedman. A bit of AriasWave, yeah. I looked into AriasWave, and but I never just look at something and say, you know what, this is it. This is what I'm looking for. I also read like a book this thick on technical analysis, support resistance, patterns, this and that. And I thought, you know what, that sounds great, but it doesn't really show you what's going to happen in the future. Or is this part of like a a big pattern that we're just in the middle of? And it's all just subjective BS basically, right? But there are certain things that you can take from each person that can, you can put it in your special filing cabinet in your mind, and don't take too much importance, but do your own research. And that's what I did. That's why I always say do your own research. So I did. And during the course of doing that, I came up with my own ways of figuring out how patterns work at the smallest degree to the highest degree. And once I realized that they were only fractal patterns that repeat over and over again, from smallest to largest, I started to realize that, you know what, this is just like a small period of time in a massive long-term period where things just repeat over and over again. Now, a lot of work that Martin Armstrong did with his Socrates AI software that he developed, that was very interesting too. But I also felt like maybe there was a component missing there that I needed as a trader to find out that can be used in real world trading. Now, I'm not saying Martin Armstrong is not amazing. He's an amazing person, and so far he's proven to be quite accurate. But markets, they're not that predictable, right? That's why we have updates. That's why there's a constant struggle between figuring out, identifying patterns. What is that pattern? Because as everyday people, we don't need, there's no such thing as, you know, something that is going to happen, it's going to happen and happens, and then you're fine. No, it's more like, let's just see how this goes. And then if adjustments need to be done along the way, well, they can save you money, because we're not rich. A lot of people who trade are not rich. They're trying to get rich, right? That's the whole point. So therefore, it's like, well, how do we determine where we are in the correction, so then we can know when the correction is over and we can continue moving towards our goal. Now, I've been through a lot of bullish and bearish scenarios before, but in the last year or so, I've started to really get a grasp on where we're heading. So it's all about practice, right? You can take the AriasWave model, right? The methodology, and I'll show you a bit of that in a second, right? But you can take a lot of that, and you can try and figure it out. But, you know, using that diagram of a bull and bear AriasWave pattern, it's not going to look the same on a chart, right? The chart is always different than the diagram, even though they contain exactly the same waves, right? It's like a guideline. It's like a map. But once you get there, like for example, you're navigating a street or a place you've never been, and you have this map, and the map tells you where you're going. But then you get there and things look a bit different. You're like, okay, well, the map doesn't really tell me that this building's here, this building's there. There's also a little alleyway here. No, you see, it's not the same. But that's why we have these things called updates, right? I update you on my best interpretation of the AriasWave methodology. Okay, so yes, I get it wrong. I get it wrong a lot, right? But the point is that I've started to get it wrong less and less through practice. Okay, take for example what happened since May 2021 in cryptos, right? Up until now, I've started to become a lot more precise and also a lot more diplomatic in the way that I explain things, right? And in being diplomatic, right, you don't just say, oh, this is going to happen and that's it, and then you look like an idiot if it doesn't happen, right? I try to give you some examples of what this pattern could mean, and then moving forward, if this happens, then that means this is probably what's going to happen after that, and then so on and so forth, right? So it's not a linear thing, right? It's more of a navigating through the waves. It's like doing that through like a mist of fog. But during the process, that's why I produce updates. I can then give you updates and say, look, okay, this didn't seem right, so therefore I have to assume, based on the methodology, that this could be the only other alternative. And once you see what I'm about to show you, you'll start to understand what I mean, because it's not easy. Okay. So even though I discovered the pattern of how markets operate, especially the corrective portions, it doesn't mean that I can identify them exactly the way they should be, because markets they can be very choppy and weird, and the waves can perform different sharp moves, choppy moves, and you don't know if that's one move in total, one wave component. If you read my book, I've started to use that term, wave component. Is that one wave component? or is it part of a larger wave component, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you know, I thought I'd take this opportunity to show you a little bit of what that entails and why that's important. Okay, so just give me a couple of moments here, because I'm trying to do this as a recording, but I'm also trying to I need to share. Okay, so this is the bull version of a correction, right? So in any correction, right, and these corrections only happen in wave B of a zigzag, B in brackets, or wave 2 and 4 of a 5-wave move. But the correction is always the same. Okay, after and by the way, you should see all the iterations that I had. One day I might release them of what I used to see, what I thought I saw, and I actually laugh at those now, because I could see how hard I was trying, and then eventually, like, it all just boiled down to this. So this is what I teach. Okay, so the first wave is always an A wave. The B wave always contains the sum total of the entire correction, right? Sounds pretty weird, right? So within the A wave, you have A, B, C, D, E, but it's in reverse. It's the bear market version, right? Because, and I'll show you the next screen, which is a bear market version of that, right? So you have your A, B, C, and you have the bear version of the same pattern in reverse. The B wave has, you know, the bull market version. You can see that the same pattern happens. The whole pattern is in that B wave for a zigzag. And then you have wave C, and wave 2 has, once again, the bear version of that same pattern right in there, same as wave 4. The D wave, once again, has the bull version of that correction within the B wave. And similar to C, the E wave, which is the final move in the correction, has the bear market version of that corrective pattern, right? This whole pattern in reverse. Same for 2 and 4. So, like, it's hard to wrap your head around it. And trust me, I did extensive research on this. So this is something that I'm sharing with you. And I know a lot of people aren't members yet, and this will probably grow, whatever. But it's also very interesting to see that this is what I use, right? So let's just go back for a second, right? Now let me show you the bear version. Okay, so this is the bear version, right? So now we're dealing with the bear version of the same thing. So the same thing happens. So if you have like a 5-wave move down, the first move up is an A. And in the B wave, you can see you have a bull correction, right? And then in B wave, you have a bear correction, which is the same pattern repeated. It's a fractal, right? And then the C wave, you got the bull, well, you could say it's a bear. Sorry, it's a bull wave 2. It's a bull wave 4. And then for D, A wave, you have a bear wave B. And then for E, you have a bull wave 2, bull wave 4, right? You can see how the correction is the same always. And this is part always of a bigger correction, right? Now, there are variances to this, and I'm not going to show you those. If you want to learn more about this, then you have to join my members section, right? I'm even surprised that I'm giving this out. And I thought, you know what, why not, right? Because a lot of people have started to ask me about, you know, how these waves work and what's an expanded correction, and you know, those type of things you need to find out, and you need to invest your time into figuring those things out. Yes, there's a monetary cost to it. Do it, right? But this is what I use on a daily basis to produce my analysis, right? This is all second nature to me now. But mind you, when you start trying to figure this stuff out, your head goes around in circles and you're like, whoa, what am I looking at here? I can see waves going like this and like that and like this and like that. And how does this all make sense? Right? That's exactly why it took 8 years and the back testing. So this is not easy, right? But once you get into the flow of it, it becomes pretty straightforward, right? In fact, a lot of my members, you'll see they comment on my videos and they say, oh, the waves never change. There's Felix, there's Matthew, there's a few others who always, they get it, right? And I've always said this, my analysis is more geared towards my members. They know what I'm talking about. But I thought that maybe if I just give you a little bit more information, you might get interested in this sort of methodology. And you might start to think, well, how does this actually represent all the markets that we're seeing? Well, just go look at my ideas. Have a look at my ideas and you will see quite clearly how this all fits in. This is not just me making it up. This is literally me using the methodology to explain to you what's coming next, right? And it's not going to change, right? I've back tested this through hundreds, up to 1,000 years, right? And all it does is produce from a larger fractal pattern right down to the smaller fractal pattern, right? That's all it does. Even at the 15-second chart, you can see this stuff happening, right? The 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 15 minute. There are rules that need to be adhered to. There are certain things that I haven't mentioned here that you should probably find out because they make a huge difference, okay? So this is a mini crash course in AriasWave, and I hope that you've taken away something from this that kind of explains how my mind produces ideas, right? And all I got to do is place my focus on a particular chart and I can tell you roughly where we are. That's why the more historical data we have, the better the chances of figuring it out. Now, the one thing that's come to light recently, especially in that video, which I keep mentioning, is that this changes everything video, right? That's the title. The long-term pattern for wave D in the Dow Jones, we've only seen wave A and B. The B wave in brackets finished in 2020. So we're looking for another massive bull run up until we get that final top, until we get a massive crash in E, right? This is a repetitive thing. This happens throughout every market all the time, right? It's just about you taking the time to analyze the charts using this, this approach. So I'm not pulling things out of a hat here, I would not be able to continue to produce updates the way I do if I was just pulling things out of a hat, right? That's what Aliaticians do, right? And I could come up with a whole bunch of things that I've heard recently that suggest that kind of thing. And it's, look, I don't even want to comment on it anymore. Like, I really don't have anything against anybody. Like, I've learned the one thing you should do is just stick to your own thing and do the best at what you do. Try to reach a larger audience, and you know, if they catch on, they catch on. If they don't, so what? I'm still doing what I love, right? And I'm also going to make money off it, especially now that we're about to hit a massive bull run, right? I just do this because I love it, right? And I also like the feedback from people telling me how good, you know, it's made their life, or how it makes them feel, or the benefits that it gives them. But that's about it. What other motivation do I have to bring you this? Basically nothing. But if you do want to be a part of it, right, the premium membership gives you access to the early material that I gave the original AriasWave members. The book, which is a beta book, right? There's still, it's like the first edition, right? I'm going to make changes to that because I have made leaps and bounds recently over the whole, you know, future patterns that are going to happen. But it still gives you the core AriasWave fundamental variances and, you know, theory of what makes AriasWave tick. And it's completely different than AriasWave. It's definitely something that you can look at on a chart and observe with your own eyes. You don't have to try and guess cycles. You don't have to try and figure out other wave methodologies that God knows they don't really post much about those. They just seem to be a wave theory that people seem to know. How accurate they are, I don't know. And I don't care because I'm doing my own thing. I'm focused on what I'm doing. I'm starting to realize who's full of shit. I'm starting to realize who's talking truth. And I'm starting to realize, you know, mainstream media is something you should completely avoid. And, you know, and things change, right? Things change. Real estate was a big thing. Now interest rates are going up. What's going to be the next big thing that's going to drive up this last move in this pattern, right? In my opinion, it's going to be a commodities boom, right? It's going to be people trying to find a way to hedge against money printing and inflation, right? So hopefully this video has given you a little bit more of a personal, between me and you perspective as to what I do, right? And, you know, maybe if you have questions, you can contact me through my website, AriasWave.com. You can join the program, get access to the private Facebook group where all the AriasWave members, you know, we all share ideas. I give you insights. I show you videos from people who actually know what they're talking about. And it's a community that's about to grow over the next few years. All right. So I'm going to leave it there. And I hope that I've made some sense to you. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. All right. So peace. And please understand that AriasWave is not AriasWave. It's a new thing. It's accurate, and you're going to see that through my ideas into the future. Thank you.